When I was around 15 or 16, I decided that I wanted to broaden my music taste. I felt like I'd been listening to the same stuff over and over again and wasn't enjoying it. I wanted to find something different, something that I would enjoy more. I asked one of my mates who I knew was also into music for any recommendations, and he told me about an artist called Jpegmafia. I decided to listen to his album All My Heroes Are Cornballs, and the first song on that album was this. I was immediately into his music. The experimental production that sounded like two different songs clashing with each other. This guy switching between rapping, screaming and singing to the listener. And it just kept getting better throughout the album. The more I listened, the more I connected with and loved the music. But as I was listening to this album, one thing kept coming to mind. Who is Jpegmafia?
Pray for all of these niggas been lying and praying for company. Bitch, I'm a demon, no punch me. Fuck you, walk for me, I put you under me, nigga. I put your soul in the struggle.
Barrington Devon Hendricks was born on October 22nd, 1989 in Flatbush, Brooklyn, where he stayed until his family moved to Alabama when he was 13. It was around this time, at the age of 14, that he began to start producing music.
I started out as a producer. I've been making beats since I was like 13 or 14. And when I was first making beats, no one liked the beats. To this day, I give people beats and they're just confused. So I just like...
Peggy producing and recording his own music continued throughout his life, and even when he moved to Louisiana and joined the United States Air Force at the age of 18, he continued his passion. He said that at the time he felt like he had no choice but to join the army.
Around the time I joined the Air Force, I was just very poor. And in the States, the army recruiters, military recruiters, they come to poor areas to recruit people like me, basically, who have no options. I didn't have money to go to college or really to do anything else, so my options were to stay where I was and just wither away and do whatever. Or, I don't know, joining the military was the only option that made sense because I didn't have any really other... There's nothing else for me to do. I didn't have money to do anything else, so that's kind of my reasoning for joining originally.
During his time in the armed forces, Hendricks served a tour in Iraq and spent time in Kuwait, Germany, North Africa and Japan. Whilst in Japan, he began to create and release music under the name Devon Hendricks. This music can still be found online today on the Devon Hendricks Bandcamp and on YouTube, and he actually just released the remastered version of one of his first projects, the Ghost Pop Tape, in 2023 under the Devon Hendricks name on Spotify. This era of his music is a lot darker and noisier than the music we hear today, but it still holds the Jpegmafia essence. In 2015, Hendricks was honorably discharged from the armed forces after bringing his superior up on abuse charges and moved to Baltimore, where he started to create music under the Jpegmafia name. He released 2 projects on Bandcamp in 2 months, with Communist Slow Jams being released in April 2015 and Dark Skin Manson being released in May 2015, with Dark Skin Manson being inspired by the Freddie Gray protests that were happening in Baltimore at the time that he was living there. Then in February 2016, Peggy released his debut album, Black Ben Carson, an experimental, noisy and provocative album that received positive reviews in the media from many different people. Peggy then moved from Baltimore to LA to record his second album, Veteran, which was released on the 19th of January 2018 to very high praise, with many fans still calling it his best album. Peggy said in an interview with Bandcamp about the album, "I wanted to show I'm not just a one-trick pony. I always do weird shit. I usually just keep to myself. This time, I just let the filter go." And you can see that in the music. Peggy is loud on this project. He makes his views clear and experiments with his sounds, slowly moving away from the noisiness of his early work, but still keeping a loud and rough production. You can see this experimentation with his sound further in his next project, All My Heroes Are Cornballs, which was released on September 13th, 2019. This is probably his most melodic album to date, with daydream-like production, and Peggy singing on a lot of the songs on this album. Peggy also stated that he made 93 songs for this album, but then narrowed it down to 18 for the official release. And I could honestly talk about this album forever. Like, I could talk about it for like 45 minutes if I wanted to. Then, when COVID hit and everyone was stuck inside, Peggy continued to release music and kept creating music, which led to the releases of EP and EP2 on November 6, 2020 and February 12, 2021 respectively. These two EPs led to the release of his fourth album, LP, which was released on Peggy's birthday, which is October 22nd. So, happy birthday, Peggy. Peggy has also worked with a lot of other artists, such as Denzel Curry, Injury Reserve, and Brockhampton. However, probably his most notable collaboration was 2023 collab with Danny Brown, Scaring the Hose. This album is definitely his most experimental project, with the sampling in the production, the heavy bass used throughout, and the guitars and drums used are just incredible in my opinion. So much so that I'm gonna talk about Jpegmafia's production.
What to do like easy, can't see me, they all get queasy, moving out not like George and Weezy.
Most people would see a commercial like this and just think, oh, this is a strange commercial, but it's entertaining, I guess. But not Jpegmafia. Peggy instead hears this and turns it into this. His use of samples are incredible. He's able to find these obscure snippets and rearrange for the songs, as well as also sampling popular songs like Milkshake by Callis, and interpreting songs like Baby One More Time by Britney Spears and Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae Jepsen. His sampling style mixed with his use of heavy bass and distorted drums and guitars creates this manic vibe to his music. His style of production seems to come from his influences, with Peggy saying that some of his main influences in music are Kanye West, Hanson, MF Doom, Chief Keef, Bjork, and Radiohead. Peggy also isn't afraid to challenge himself. For his 2023 album Scaring the Hose, Peggy produced primarily using the Roland SP404SX, which looks like this. He did this to challenge himself because this is what we would sound like in the 90s with no Pro Tools, which many rappers and artists especially wouldn't be scared to try for a song. But doing an entire album with this equipment in today's day and age is insane. That is one of the many reasons I like Peggy. There are many different reasons why I like Peggy so much. Firstly, his production style is just nothing like I've ever heard before. Like, he's just so experimental with his music and it just always sounds so amazing to me. His obscure samples, his interpolations, just incredible. He also is experimental in his music videos as well, which as a photographer I take inspiration from, and I'm able to kind of use that to inspire myself to experiment more in my own work. I also love the way that his songs on Spotify and other streaming services, they sound so different when he performs them live. I was able to see him live in April of 2022, and the energy he brings to everything is just incredible. You can see that in his Colours performance for Tug Tears off of Veteran. It sounds so different to his original song that's on the album. He just brings so much energy, like I said, and he's always interacting with the crowd as well. Like, I was able to be front row and he was putting his hands out, he was doing all kinds of things. I've seen him jump into mosh pits at different concerts. I've seen clips of that online. He's so energetic, he's running around all the time, he's screaming, he's jumping up and down, lying down, just getting back up, whatever it is. He's just incredible to watch perform. And then on a more personal note as well, I found his photographer, Carla Valcusi, who has inspired me to become a content photographer. That is what I want to do now. So if I hadn't started listening to Jpegmafia, I probably wouldn't be on the path I am on now. There's also other reasons, like I've started to listen more to other experimental artists like Injury Reserve and Death Grips, different types of things like that. Now, a lot of that is from Jpegmafia. But the main reason I like Jpegmafia is because he's a guy that makes music. Simple as that. He doesn't make music for mainstream. He doesn't make music for to sell. He doesn't make music to do anything. He just makes music, it seems, for himself. He always is experimenting. He's always having fun with his music. And You can tell he's having fun because of the way he performs it. So Jpegmafia is just a guy who makes music for himself, and thankfully some people like the songs, and I am one of those people.